Welcome to Liquid Lunch. It's me, Hugh Riley. It's a Tuesday, and Erin is my co-host today. Erin.
Hello.
It's great to have you in, and
Thank you.
You've brought a great bunch of guests in today. We're going to be talking about art and stuff, so maybe you can introduce our first guests, Sylvia and Hollis.
All right. Nice to be back. Thank you for having me. A little nervous today. It's been a long time.
I don't know why you're nervous, because there's nothing to be nervous about.
That's true.
Yeah, you know?
This isn't live or anything, really. So today we're here with our well-known Toronto artists, Hollis Baptiste and Sylvia Welsh.
Hi, Erin.
Hello.
Hi, Hugh.
Thank you guys
Hi.
for coming. So
You're
Sylvia is the creator and curator of art. So
Collaboration curator.
Thank
That's
you.
my moniker.
And I'm going to pass this on to you to continue
Hollis?
explaining how we know Hollis.
Okay. So I am the owner of Studio Visuals, which is an art space, and I've been working in that space for probably about 8 or 9 years.
Most people probably know it as that place with the eye.
Yes.
On it,
that
on
they go
Queen
wide
Street
on the
East, that's
Queen
right,
Street
and the
cover.
garage door, that's
Yeah.
right. So that's when I met Hollis many, many years ago, and we've been working together ever since. So this
More than 8
year...
years. It's been more than 8 years.
No,
right?
it's been about 12 or 13
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
So this year, Hollis decided to put together a compilation, a photo compilation of his works, and I have some written word, and there are some other folks that have participated in it. So why don't you tell us about all the folks that you've been working with to pull your photographic book together?
Yeah, I've decided to do a documentation of my book, of my artwork. So I got together with Sylvia Welch. She does some writing and essay, and some editing. She's an editor writer. Alexander Platter. He's a photographer, professional photographer. He did the layout for the catalog. He has his gallery is called Studio 105, and Oz Phelps. He's a local artist, photographer, artist, and writer. So I had him doing also an essay, and Jamil Kalim. He teaches for the Board of Education. He's a writer. No, actually, he's an artist, multimedia artist, also a musician, and I got him to contribute to a little introduction, because we've known each other for about 25 years. So I got him to do a little intro about the.
So you pulled this crew of people together, and I mean ultimately it's your work, and your work essentially is mostly found objects. And so why is this book important at this time, Hollis?
Because it's important because I believe in documentation and leaving something behind so people can read. So knowing that a lot of black artists in the city have not really documented their work, because it's hard to find. I've been to certain
right, because you can do an art show, you can have photographs of your work, you can do all of those things, but if you don't actually create a legacy of your work in paper form and leave a book behind, I mean, we live in a digital world.
Artists period do not really document their work in a book form. It's mostly done by galleries, or collectors might decide to do something for them. But to take on a project like this, through my research, I realized there's no documentation a lot of documentation of black African Canadian artwork. So I decided to, you know what, I'm gonna make a book of some of my works, and it's not only just one book. I decided to I'm gonna do at least 3 or 4 different books.
So this is
and
the
it's
first.
self-funded, and and it's basically the first one is self-funded, meaning that I got people together who can contribute to the book and stuff, right? Who put money actually.
So
I've got some loans.
you're not getting any funds from any councils or anything like it. It's purely independent activity, which is very much like the gallery and the work that we do together. It's very independent.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. Your work is unusual, and it's not easily digestible by all that see it. So can you talk a little bit about your work?
I use a lot of found materials, like recycled stuff. Like I tend to take commercialized items and add something to them.
Now, I think we might have some images from the website.
So this is Sylvia. You might
we
want to
are-
explain how this is on your website,
Right.
And how
So
it all connects.
I have two websites actually. So the first website is studiovisuals.ca, and that is really an archive. So Hollis is talking a lot about documentation. So when I had the gallery, I used all of the imagery from the gallery for the past 8 years, and then so that's kind of an archive, and then it adds as we do more things. So Hollis's work is on my website, and then I have a separate website for the things that we do together. So we mentioned my moniker as the collaboration curator, so that's me. The space is Studio Visuals, and the project that we're working on is Two Hands Create. So this is Two Hands Create. So this is the project I'm working on with Erin.
Which we're going to talk about next.
Next,
Yes.
that's right. So good segue. And then the other website is studiovisuals.ca, and that's where there's some written works and some photography of Hollis's current work.
So do we have any of Hollis's work that we can
We
see right
do.
now?
It's on Studio Visuals.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about it while he's
While
looking up
we're,
the site
while
for us?
we're looking at it.
My work it has a political swing to it, a cultural swing. What do you call it? More like pop arty kind of approach, where I use like dolls, guns, toy guns. I appropriate other people's images. I don't steal them; I just appropriate them. Right.
Inspired by them.
Would you say
Inspired, and I
current-
use other, and I kind of tag. I kind of do some tagging also, where I can. It's not like a graffiti tag. It's more like I take an object and I put another object that I either created or found. So I put all these objects together to produce the idea.
And I like Hollis's work because it has it's got very subversive type of imagery, right? Where you see a common image, but then he adds some punning to it. It might be instead of there might be an image of a gun, and instead of peace, Piece, it'll be Peace.
Well, yeah,
right.
play on words,
A
right?
play on words and punning on words.
Yeah. It's along the line of a lot of different artists have done
And
this
then-
before,
So would you say the current one is focused on gun violence?
Yeah, well, I've been focusing on gun violence for the past 15 years or so, right? And it never really went away. Gun violence has always been here, but you might see more of it now because of the social media, the cameras and whatnot. You can capture what's going on. But I've always focused on having a kind of approach to like showing like, hey, like violence is out there. And so my first set of bodies of work was actually finding pieces of metal and wood and whatnot all over the city and piecing it together to make guns.
Right.
A kind of archaeological approach where the guns that I found, for instance, it was kind of historical, futuristic thing where I'm putting all these guns together that were discarded. So I found all these discarded pieces of guns as relics, and I put them back together.
Right.
Then my next approach was actually associating like toy guns with children. It was called gunplay, where I actually, I put a doll and a gun together. Like the whole action of like buying guns for our children. Like conditioning them to for the gun. So that was the gunplay series. So I've been doing guns for a long time and just incorporated it into my work or words and stuff, So
It seems your art is getting more and more and more relevant with everything that's happening. So is part of the release now related to some of what's going on and the frustration that we're having with gun violence, whether it's racial or not?
it seems relevant now, but 15 years ago it was still relevant.
Still
right?
relevant.
But
What's
now
being put out
again,
is-
now you see more of it. And it's like, so you might say like, hey, the gun theme now is extra relevant now because you see like there's a lot of violence that we're seeing now.
Do you think there really is more gun violence? I mean, in Toronto, over the last 15 years, I mean, I wonder even, we've heard so much recently with the police shootings in the States and the racial aspect to it, but I mean, even if we're not seeing more,
You see,
it's
that's
still a problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing. You see, like social media has made it easy for people to see what's going on now. 15 years ago was still going on. We just didn't have the evidence visually, right? So it's always been there.
So when I met Hollis, it was 2003. But when he started practicing and creating these works, it was in the 90s. And what was happening in the city of Toronto in the 90s were the Yonge Street riots, because there were several shootings with police officers and people that had mental health issues. They were also happened to be black. So the same issues they've always been here, and it really depends upon how accessible it is to the public and how people can get that knowledge.
Yeah.
The other part of that is that police abuse is a global problem. Right. It's not a Toronto problem. We have racial issues, but the same kinds of gun violence with police happen around the world, and it's a global problem. If you go to the United Nations website, you can find that information.
Yeah.
So the work is bringing
focus
to it. It's bringing light to it.
My work is not just focused on violence and police violence involving black people and people of color. I'm just anti-gun. I don't believe in gun, period. I don't believe in wars. I don't believe in volunteering for wars. For instance, me and my brother did a pact about 30 years ago that we both was going to join he was going to join the United States Army. I was going to join the Canadian Armed Forces, and he went through. But I went down to Fort York and went through the first steps, and I realized, hey, it's not for me, man.
Right.
But he stuck it out for 20 odd years, right? Went through the ranks and everything. So I've developed an anti-war gun mentality from years ago. So it's just being portrayed now is some of the through some of my artwork, but I've always been it's anti-gun.
Right.
I don't own one. I don't plan. I tell people when they ask me, "How come you got guns in your artwork?" And I say, to bring highlight to gun violence. And my guns are toy guns. The only thing that's going to happen to you might get squirt. You know what I mean? You won't get shot.
So can I ask you this, though? That being said, I think few of us are on the same page. Yet there are countries and cultures where people actually have to carry a gun for safety, not because they want to use it or others. So if you were in that position, where would you find yourself?
I wouldn't find myself in that country, first of all. But I wouldn't. Not for instance, I know you're kind of maybe focusing on the States where they have loose gun laws and everybody can own a gun. I wouldn't own a gun still in the States. I would not own one. I wouldn't be in the position to have to use a gun. So I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't use one. A lot of people in the States, they don't have guns, and they survive. But
I think it's really interesting because Hollis's work has always been made with found objects, and it's not easily understood. But because of the social media and how the knowledge is spreading, I think now people will be able to have an appetite for his work, because I don't think they always did, right? Because they didn't understand, why is this guy making all of these things out of guns? It might have been anti-gun or what have you, but now that everybody is thinking in those lines, the work becomes, it's always been relevant, but it seems to be more palatable, I think, is what it is, right? Because people are uncomfortable when they see the images, right? It makes people feel very uncomfortable.
Well, that's exactly what I want. I want people to have a reaction. I want people to question, and to seek answers. So I don't do shock art where stuff like that. I do subtle messages that resonate within the subconscious, I guess, But yeah, so that's what I want. Each artist wants somebody to, I've read that art not supposed to be calm and soothing, it's supposed to be shocking and give you a kind of real image of the world from not there's nothing wrong with a group of seven, right? They represented what they saw, but also there's an edge to art, a different part to art where it has to kind of wake you up to a political situation, social issues and stuff, right? So that's what I kind of approach to my art.
So besides the gun stuff, are there any other issues that really concern you?
Accessibility. I really, leading back to the catalog book, it's a lot of, I've spoken to a lot of artists and they don't have access to galleries in this city at all. It's the whole engine, the whole mechanism of art in the city is very limited. So for me to kind of get around that, I decided instead of trying to have shows, I decided let me just focus on a book where it's something that it's something a hard copy that you can have, and it's actually a show in itself, right? It's a compilation of my images and stuff. So to kind of counter the fact that you can't get a show and the gallery owners, like, they don't understand your work. They can't market your work. I just say, you know what? I just compile books of my work and have that do the talking for me, you know, and I can also sell it and make money, right? And then in turn build up a notoriety for when I do have a show. It's like, hey, you know,
That's right.
So it's like marketing. This is all part of a marketing strategy.
And through that,
Absolutely.
you do build more of, you know, more of a following, and at the same time, this is the time, because 20 years ago you didn't have the access that we did.
That's true.
And sometimes I think it's too many options. You don't quite know where to start or what to approach until you can focus it in.
And that's
But-
the whole thing about marketing art. I mean, so many artists, like, I mean, musicians included, right? I mean, Toronto's a great city for art. There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of artists. Sometimes I hear from musicians, they're complaining there's too many good
Right.
musicians in the city. It's hard to stand out. You got to go play in the 905 if you want
Yeah.
to get paid.
Well,
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I'm just my question, because you're the owner of the Habit Art Factory, right? And that is like, what is the real issue around marketing of art in Toronto?
Not
these
enough,
days?
not enough marketers, not enough people, not enough gallery owners actually taking a serious approach to the artists, finding out where the artist is coming from, doing their research, and finding a market for that work, finding sales and whatnot.
Is there you know, the market, like, it's, people have complained before, and I don't know if the situation is the same now, that the Canadians and you know, including Torontonians, they're just not as art savvy as maybe the artists would want them to be. You know, not enough people actually collecting art seriously, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but also there's not enough galleries. There's not enough people taking chances and risks. You know, everybody wants to be liked. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. It's not that one's going after to be hated, but sometimes you got to do things that can make people uncomfortable. But you need more. You need more outlets. The artists definitely need more outlets and more publications. There's not enough writing, like books about artists and art. Period. Like it's an industry. Toronto is a very vibrant industry with a lot of potential. It's just not enough people taking chances. There's not enough risk takers in Toronto.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the Habit Art Factory, like your?
It's actually my basement, my storage basement, right? I call it a factory because it's 20 odd years of all my art, and different artists' work also, right? And the factory part comes in, like, I consider myself a factory, right? I produce a lot of things, right? So I always had the factory mentality that you have to produce. As an artist, you got to keep producing. So you have an assembly line mentality that, hey, I'm a factory now. I'm producing. So Habit is actually an abbreviation of Hollis Baptiste, and the it part was just to make the word habit, right?
Right.
So and the art factory again is me being a productive artist. I'm a factory, so that's the whole thing. And my factory is just it's just a basement up on Keelan Eglinton, roughly about maybe 250 square feet, just ceiling to the floor of stuff, man. Like produce works, ideas over here, like junk. I collect car parts. Right now I'm collecting the molding of the cars and automobiles, the molding parts, the black plastic under there. And I'm collecting that. I have about 300 pounds of that just for my future projects, right? So it's you can't even with this tracks. You can't even sit down in there, bro.
I have never been
it.
to the Habit Art
I love it.
Factory.
You go in, but you don't come out, right?
He comes out, and the art comes out, right?
Trust me, bro. If anything falls in, if something falls down going down the stairs, if it falls to the right, you're in problems, man. So I advise people, like, hold on to your cell phones.
But but here's the whole issue. I just want to talk about, again, the marketing of art and that sort of thing, because when I go to galleries too, right, I see art. Like, I have this crazy theory that there's too much art. I know I'm going to get in trouble for that. But,
Don't say that, bro. There ain't enough buyers.
No, because I go, okay, so that's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
yeah, I go to galleries, I see the art stacked floor to ceiling, right? Just like your place. And, but what do you do? Because you don't want to lower the price, supply and demand, the economics of it, right? You don't want to devalue your work that way. So what do you do?
That's where the gallery owners and the writers come in. First of all, like, I don't have to keep going to the Now magazine to find out what's happening in the city, and they give you like how many words, 300 words or something of you know what I mean? Like, there's not enough coverage. There's not enough marketing. For instance, the gallery owners need to promote the art more, and not just focus on people who graduated art school. There's a lot of people who did not go to school who's like kick-ass, man. They're doing some. And the fact that they didn't go to school, they didn't get that indoctrination to actually follow a pattern. They're like making their own patterns. And there needs to be more of a serious approach to the arts. And to get the buyers now, you can't force somebody to buy something, right? But you can entice them. And there's not enough inclination to buy because like the whole market, the whole industry of the art is not really that focused on getting a product out, you know? It's cool to go to art shows and drink a little wine and go in the back and smoke something. But when it comes down to actually, find about this artist or finding something, hard copy about an artist, not just, the artist statement or something, it's hard to find. Like, there's no so for me to make this catalog now, it's like, it's not really groundbreaking, but the approach is kind of groundbreaking, right? The people I'm working with, and I'm actually like paying it for myself at the moment, right? So you need more stuff like that to
I think that's an important piece of it. Is I think that you go to galleries and you see the art stacked all over the place, and so you have to wonder who is the gallery marketing to for all of these artists, right? And how are they doing it? And so I think what we're doing is very unique in the sense that I'm a gallery owner and I am working as a writer on his behalf. We're working together to produce something, and so we're actually, that in itself is a promotion, and that will then drive the interest. So people will know about the artist, they know about the underpinning of the work, and then they'll make an investment. But to go into a gallery and look at a painting and not know what the inspiration was and not know who the person was that created the piece of art, it might be something that you're attracted to, but to make an investment, it has to have some deeper value to it.
It needs to have, and we were talking about that the other day.
Yes.
You need to have a story behind it. You need to know the story of the artist.
See, I kind of used the 1980s Warhol, Basquiat, Clemente, Schnabel, and a few other artists approach, because particularly Warhol, because what he did at a particular time in the 80s was to get some writers together and pay them and just pay them with his art, right?
Barter.
That's
what
not
we
really,
do, right?
Not really barter, but not barter, but kind of bribe, right? In the sense that he actually got writers to write about, to sensationalize his work, than him,
right?
So he created this whole mystique, this whole aura, about himself by just talking to writers privately. And then giving him his work to write about him. So that's the approach I'm kind of taking now. I got some writers together. It's like not really secret backdoor deals, but more a frontal approach deals where I say, listen, this strategy can work. Write about me. I did that. I said, write about me, and I'll give you a piece of my work.
It's a creative approach.
I actually did that to some of the writers. I couldn't pay them financially, like monetarily, right? I gave him some of my work and got them hooked on. I got them sold on. Like, hey, I got them all amped up. Yo, we're gonna do this, man. Dude said, yeah, man. He went out there, wrote a piece, and I said, I'm gonna give you one of my faces that I make. Yeah, man. So you gotta actually take an approach like that to you gotta create something. You gotta create a buzz. You have to absolutely create a buzz, not just by being like a member of the AGO or just being shown by some of the bigger galleries in the city, but by just the underground approach to it.
It's also creating that connection point and the excitement through that, because again, you go to a gallery, you see stuff. When we're in the gallery and people come in and meet the artist, the reaction is completely different. They engage in a different way, and most often they walk out with something. So that is one of the things we're lacking. And Hugh and I have even interviewed many bands, and No one's making money from selling CDs. So what do they have to do? Sell T-shirts, do more shows.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to now put yourself out there because we have too many options with social media, locations.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you take on any kind of art in a gallery or in a store, if you are not creatively thinking around how you're going to expose the art and the artist, it sets you back. So at this point, are you just charging for the space and having a turnover because your artist is not growing through what you're doing? So I think people need to now creatively figure out where's the longevity in this, because we do have a lot of talent, and I don't think that Toronto and Canada doesn't appreciate art. I think we appreciate art heavily.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
difference is it almost feels like at times it's not taken seriously, or you don't
Yeah.
look at it as a curator. Anyone who loves art can curate art and create their own connection or surround themselves with what applies to them.
Yeah.
And that seems to be difference here. So what do we do to pave the way, like you are with the book right now? Because when you have a book or even a video or whatever it is, or a film, every time you look at it, you grasp something new, or you see something you haven't noticed, or it connects in a point where you are in your life with an experience, and then it sparks it all up. So through what you're doing, I think you're going to be able to be successful with that. And then you have your series of books, and it's important for artist collaboration as well to keep feeding each other that energy to continue. Just because we may not have the investors or the support in Canada does not mean that we can't be successful. We just
That's
can't
true.
expect others to do it for us all the time.
And I think there's not enough writers. I've always said this before, like there's not enough writers to write about art. You know, like every week, you know, we get a little review in the Now, and it's, you know, we have Canada Life, Canadian Art Magazine, Canadian Art, and you know, but there's no local publication to say, for instance, like somebody's going around and documenting shows that happen within a month, and then all of a sudden putting something out and giving it a review. Like these things are like, it's needed, right? It's, you know, we need more writers to write about art.
But you know, technology has changed quite a few things, right? Publications, that's the perfect example. The book market has changed, but I think the book market still exists.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
The newspapers have, you know, gone to online formatting and
But
those
they
kinds
still
of things.
exist, yeah.
They
Right.
still exist. But I think to your point and to Q's question about, you know, what does the market need and how do you sell art? I mean, and how do you separate that from the art gallery? Like the art gallery, is it really accessible to everybody, right? Because you have to pay to go there. Apparently the Smithsonian in Washington, it's free. You
yeah.
can just go in,
Yeah,
right?
whatever.
So accessibility alone and bringing people's knowledge base higher by accessibility then can feed your market, right? Because then people will have an understanding. Art isn't that accessible in the city of Toronto. Right, for
I
free.
mean, are
Unless,
there-
you know what I mean. Unless you are you invited because you know the artist? Are you invited because you know the gallery owner?
Well, if you know there's a show on,
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
can go check
AGO
it
you
out.
got to pay, but everywhere
everywhere else is free.
you can
but
go in if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know the
Yeah.
time and the place,
Exactly,
right?
yeah. Just
But
keep
is
abreast with
it? But would you just go to a random thing, or would you go to something that was of interest to you? And how do you find that?
Oh, you
thing,
mean, yeah,
right?
finding out about
It's
that.
finding what you're interested in and going to that place and feeling comfortable when you arrive there, right?
Well, we can tell some people right now where they
That's
can
right.
go.
Yeah.
Right,
Exactly.
because now the book is
Definitely.
called. I just want to, before we get to
Yeah.
that, the book's called Bad Habit, right? And Sylvia, you want to tell us about the event? You're going to have Hollis's work there, and people can go there, right?
I think we're in the final stages of editing.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
I think
yeah.
you're reshooting some photography.
Yeah, we had to do some. This is just an interesting story. The photographer, he went through just a few of the images and decided like it's not as clear as he wanted it. So he had to reshoot about 4 of them. So after he reshot those 4, the book is going to have about 20 images, 20 of my work. So after he reshot those 4 images, he realized that, hey, you know, like these look fantastic. So he decided to reshoot all of them, the rest of the images, because we want to go for perfection, right? Like to make it really, really good. So he just decided, listen, I'm going to reshoot all the images again.
So we're aiming for an October launch, I think. Originally we were aiming
For the book.
Yeah.
For the book. We originally were aiming for the August, and so we had all finished writing and such. But I think we're aiming for the October 15th at Studio Visuals, and that will be a night shop, 6 to 10
Yes.
p.m., and we'll all be there.
And
Yeah.
Right?
each month, middle of the month, we do have a live event at the gallery with
Right.
the new artist of the month. So that way people can come and actually get to interact with the artist. So again, we have found that's really effective. Not only do people come back and create relationships with these artists, but it's the connection, because no matter how much we have social media, mainstream media, it doesn't matter.
People still want to connect, right?
Exactly. And we're finding the connections we're making are pulling people back in, because it's actually what we're lacking again. Whatever you need to do and succeed, when we remove the personal connection out of it, it is not going to have the same longevity as it does with the pull that we're getting at the gallery in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
So, okay, studiovisuals.ca, that's the website, right,
That's the website.
Sylvia?
Yeah, for
so
the
October
space.
15th, what night of the week is that?
That
That's
is
a Saturday
Saturday.
night.
That's perfect,
Yep.
right?
6 to 10
6 to
p.m.
10.
And we're also open from 4 to 6 p.m. 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the gallery between Fridays to Sundays.
Okay,
Yep.
Fridays.
And
Friday,
we'll
Saturday,
talk more
Sunday.
about our live events in the next interview.
Okay, and plus they can go on the website and find out more.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And Hollis, do you have a website for your stuff? that
No, I
you
don't have a
wanna let people-
website.
Get links on my website.
I have links, web presence.
That's
is
what we
is
were
Yeah,
that
that's
trying to
good.
pull up.
Yeah, web presence. counts.
Yeah.
Okay.
On
You
her
can find-
gallery, or
You
just-
can look up Hollis Baptiste, and
We
you'll
need-
find like all different kind of things, and absoluteart.com. I got some work there. Just yeah, you'll find different things of, you punch in somebody's name and you'll get whatever they did, right? So there's a few things, but I don't have a website yet. I'm working on a website.
Are we able to pull up the link that's through studiovisuals.ca for Hollis?
Yeah, are
Is
we,
there-
Chris?
No.
Is there anything else we want to share, Hollis, that we missed?
The book catalog is going to be at least 30 pages, maybe 35 pages, 8.5 by 12.
Hard or soft copy?
We're doing both. We're doing both hard copies and soft copies. And another thing, I'm really in. You can ask Sylvia. I love to document and collect and save things. So for instance, I've been saving invites from 20, 30 years ago from artists for the sole purpose of one day opening a museum and having all these archival things. You know what I mean? So that's where the book comes in. I believe in documentation and putting things in a book so it could last longer than the art actually, right? So I'm also into like buying other artists' catalogs and books. All right, so I have a little collection of that at home that I cherish and stuff. So to me, a book is always the number one thing to have as a form of reference and proof that something existed. I mean, as a child, my dad was always, every Sunday I had to read a book. Every Sunday was book time. No TV, no outside, it was just grab a book, man. So I've read one book. I've been reading like one book for like over 20 times,
my
man. You know what I mean? So I love to read. You see me on the subway, I'm not on my phone, I'm reading. So to me, it's just to document things. Books is a number one form of entertainment for me in a sense.
And what's great is that you're leaving this behind for your family and your bloodline, and it's an example of what they can accomplish.
For the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there an age group for the book that you're going to be putting out?
There's no swear words in it. There's no parental advisory thing in it. So
So if I
anybody
brought
can
it to
read.
my son who's 6 years old,
Oh,
who's
he'll
sitting
love
with
it.
me, very interested in this kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
artwork.
it'll catch his imagination first of all because there's a lot of toys in it, right? That use
Right.
toys, so he might get.
It triggers a lot of questions.
And
You know
it'll
what I mean?
open up a conversation,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. This is
Absolutely.
really exciting, Hollis, and it's really
Oh, thank you.
exciting to have this connection because I
I'm
think
telling you.
parts of us are very much on the same
Exactly.
wavelength.
Yeah.
So
And
the
Hugh
documentation and
As a form of
Exactly.
bringing us together as well,
Yeah,
too,
man.
and giving us this
I
opportunity.
was
it's
surprised when Sarah told me she's working on an interview, and Erin got in touch with me and told me we're going to do an interview. It was like I didn't have any chance to I'm thinking interview, you know, it's good. So like I had only had like about 3 days to prepare, right? It's like everything was just like Zoom, you know.
You want it, it's here. Let's go.
But you know what? That's a great thing because it's like the urgency of it all is really important now, and to get things done immediately and now is a good thing.
And I think the signs have been there. So as much as at times we feel like we're not ready, well, how much more ready can we be? The time is now. Are we moving forward or not? So it's been amazing to be able to verbalize where we want to be and watching it evolve.
Yeah, man.
And thank you for letting us be able to talk about it here.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, you.
So thanks, guys. Nice to meet you.
My
Hollis,
pleasure,
and
man.
All the
My
best.
pleasure. I'm glad to be
We'll
here,
be
bro.
back with the book, Hugh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll have to come
Awesome.
back
Yes.
once the book
This is
published.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, great.
I'm impressed. I'm not easily impressed, bro, and I'm impressed.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Hollis.
Put that
Put that in writing and we'll put it on the website.
Sold.
I had a buddy say that. There's a guy
That's
on
right.
LinkedIn who says that. I'm not easily impressed, but I'm impressed, man. Sorry, it's kind of a joke.
You'll get the
Okay, we're going
signed
to
copy
separate
of the
this one
book.
out. We're putting it up video thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you. So
Yeah.
we're going to take a little break now, and then we're going to
Perfect.
come back with more, right?
Yes.
Erin?
Thank you.
So,
The rest of the artists for August, that's Studio Visuals.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll be right back.
Thank
That's
you.
Ademoglu.